Hello, hello, hello. I'm Erica Lynn, better known as Erica Lynn Speaks.
If I can think about it for a second, learn to live life for the better. I had hard times, got a life coach for depression, got a life coach for depression. Now it's all mine, living days full of hard times. Ekalin, work on your mind, let's get on your grind. Working on the feelings inside, Ekalin got me on the rise.
Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, yeah, yeah. Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, alright. Looking up when I fell on hard times, they changed my mind. Got my head up, looking to the sky. Miss Lynn, she changed my life. Looking up when I fell on hard times. With her unique design. Got my head up, looking to the sky.
Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin speaks, yeah, yeah. Ekalin speaks, so the Ekalin.
Hello, hello, hello. This is your girl, Erica Lynn, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. Y'all know how we do it over here. We like to play big. Who do we play big for? We play big for ourselves. Because if we don't play big for ourselves, no one else will. We like to play big or go home, right? It's time for us to fight for us. I want to thank everybody for joining this podcast today. Oh my God, I'm so excited just about the things that God has been doing, how He has been moving. And as you guys all see, the title of today's podcast is a special announcement that Erica Lynn is going to make. But before I get into the special announcement, you guys know I got to give accolades to all those who have blessed this podcast. I am so grateful for my family. I'm so grateful for my friends. I'm so grateful for the Erica Lynn fam who have just been there for me, riding with me from day one. And I just want to say thank you guys. Your love and your kindness and just being there is very, very, very much appreciated. So I just want to say thank you. Today, we will be discussing 5 ways to grow and develop your gifts and talents. But before we get into that, I want you guys to make sure you share this podcast with everybody you know. Share it with your family, share it with your friends, because I guarantee you somebody will be blessed by this episode of Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. And I'm not playing. When you share this podcast, make sure that you do it and put hashtag Erica Lynn fam so that they know that you guys are part of the Erica Lynn fam crew. Like, I'm just excited. you know, Sometimes we don't know how God is going to move or when he's going to move, but when he move, man, you better move with him else you're going to get left behind. You guys know we're live on 2 Facebook channels, Erica Lynn Speaks and Erica Lynn. And we're also live on YouTube. So you can share any of those 3 platforms and tell somebody to come on and join us. Before I get started into tonight's events, I want to say a happy anniversary to Nova Davis and Felix Davis. I'm so excited. Shout out to my friend and her husband. It's just nothing but love and just love is in the air. In this day and age, when people are going through things, it's nice to see couples that stick together, pray together, stay together, and most importantly, still have the love within their relationship. So shout out to Nova and Felix. Happy anniversary. You guys know. Well, you don't know because I have not been on the scene. You haven't really seen much of Erica Lynn. You haven't seen many posts, right? Because it's like, where did Erica Lynn go? Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm not. I do know that I have disappeared before, but I've had other struggles going on behind the scenes that people didn't know. And this week, well, let me not say this week, I've had struggles that I've battled with. And before I made an ultimate decision, I said, okay, God, what direction am I going to go in? What am I here for? What's my purpose? What do you want me to do? So before I made my decision, but before I made my decision, God said, it's time for you to go to the conference. and he did everything possible to make sure I got there, right? He sent one of his disciples to make sure I managed my money right, make sure I budgeted, make sure I had the money for the hotel, the airfare, just make sure everything was taken care of on my dime, right? For me not to ask anybody else to pay for anything, to do anything. If this is something that I was going to get, then I had to do the work to get there. See, God had been making me work. I had to do the work to get there. And so I went to the BCOL, which is Be Confident Out Loud conference. It was housed in Atlanta, and I was in Atlanta for 4 days. Just the weather was beautiful, the people were amazing, and I just had the pleasure of meeting so many amazing women. It was such a life-changing experience for me. I want to say happy birthday to Nestle, because these are new friends that I've met in Atlanta, and Nestle has a birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Nestle. Um, and I have a new mentee, Christine Green, because sometimes when God has a word for you or a mission for you, he sends you in different places. You don't even know what you're going to get when you get there. So my new mentee said, you don't know it, but you're my mentor. So she just kind of like snatched me up and adopted me. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to be obedient and do what God asked me to do. I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Zoe Jameson Shanks for being obedient to God's word. She put the Be Confident Out Loud conference on, and it was so many obstacles that came up her way, from finances to just wanting to quit and things not going her way. And God rallied a team of women around her to support her, to uplift her, to be there, to pick up the slack when she couldn't anymore. And the conference was able to go on, and it was a conference that you guys don't want to miss. So I'm telling you, make sure next year that you are at the BCOL, Be Confident Out Loud, right? It was just awesome. I remember when I interviewed Juanita Rasmus, y'all know Beyonce's pastor, when I interviewed her on the podcast last year. We had a very great conversation. And I remember when she was telling me how she had begun to fall to where she was losing it, and she got in the bed and she just didn't get out of the bed for a year, didn't want to take a shower, didn't want to do anything, just had no will to move because something was going on inside of her. She just didn't know what and didn't know how to fix it. Well, she understood when she started coming out of this thing and God started working on what was going on inside of her, and she was doing the work and she came through it. She started going to conferences. She went to 2 conferences a year in which nobody knows who you are. You get to be yourself, dress down. You don't have to be the famous pastor that everybody know who you are. You get to just be Juanita Rasmus. You get to be you, and you get to fellowship with other women, and they fellowship with you, and you get poured into, and you pour into them. It is totally different. It's different than being on TV. It's different than being on stage. It's different than any experience that you could have ever imagined. And I remember when we were backstage, before I even brought her onto the podcast, she had said, I'm going to continue to attend at least 2 conferences a year because I need that for me. I'm always pouring out into other people. My cup was running empty. I need my cup refilled so that I can continue to pour out to other people. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me. I said, with any means necessary, I'm going to go to this conference so that I can get poured into. Now, I do 2 conferences a year. One I'm serving. I serve Pastor Barbara Bankston in the Passion, Power, and Purpose. So I'm working, but I'm still getting poured into. And the second one, I will be doing the BCOL conference every year. If God be willing, I'm going to go, right? So I can continue to get poured into. But that never left my mind. That never left my thought process. I knew that this is what I needed to do to continue to keep walking into my purpose, to keep walking into who God has called me to be in the midst of all the struggles and all the things that I had going on. And so I just had the pleasure of meeting such amazing women. Like, I connected. I have a new spiritual mom. They call her Mama Jumper. And so shout out to Mama Jumper, Robbie, Noel, Jess, Tishir, Jocelyn. I mean, it was amazing, right? So I remember all of their names, right? But I had to, like, when I got home, I immediately text everybody. They text me. So this is like a new extended family that I have. But this is what I received from the conference. Had I not gone to the conference, I wouldn't be a part of all of these ladies' lives. And they are placed in different states all over America. And so now I can jump on a plane and go to Atlanta, go to Tennessee, go to Mississippi, go wherever these ladies are and feel loved and pour into them and allow them to pour into me, because we need that. Shout out to the Prophet Clyde Lewis. Oh my God, that brother was amazing. He was amazing. And Sherelle Francis, she was the second to the last speaker, was supposed to be the last speaker, but she was the second to the last speaker. And it wasn't until the last day of conference that I got my word from God. And so shout out to Sherelle Francis for delivering that word for me. But I want to tell you, in this special announcement that I'm here today to make, this announcement came because I went to that conference to quit. I was done. I was quitting the podcast, quitting the business, quitting just quitting being in the public eye, quitting being on social media. And I was just done. I was done. I had nothing else left inside of me. I had nothing else left to give. I didn't know what to do because I was experiencing something that we all go through. I had no idea or no understanding what is my true identity. Yes, I'm Erica Lynn. Yes, I'm Erica Lynn Speaks. Yes, I'm the motivator. Yes, I'm the podcast host. But really, truly, what is my true identity? I have no idea, because when you know your true identity, that's where you begin to feel those places of wholeness in the inside. I wasn't feeling whole. I was feeling empty. So when the Prophet Clyde started teaching us about how to discover your true identity and what is your true identity and how to get there, then I had realized that I was living in a false identity. You know, I didn't really know who Erica Lynn was. I didn't know how to authentically love myself and love other people and help all those who I was called to help, but at the same time, really truly understand who I am and who I was called to be. So, um, yes, I help everybody. I I can help everybody I can, but I don't know how much more I can give. I didn't know how much more I can give. I didn't know what was inside of me. And I just knew that I could do much better. When he was talking about your identity, I could relate to a lot of things that he was saying. It's a lot of things I didn't have answers for. So I understood that in this season, it is so important for Erica Lynn to truly understand what my true identity is. And in order to find what my true identity is, I have to go in pursuit of it, right? I have to search for it. So, what that means is the podcast is going on hiatus. There will be no more podcasts, but not forever. The podcast will be on hiatus. When will the podcast come back? I don't know. It won't be forever, but I don't know. When it comes back is when God tell me it's time. Will I be speaking? Maybe here and there, but I'm not going to set my team out to go book me on speaking engagements after the ones that I'm booked on are over, because I am in pursuit of my true identity. One of the major things that brought me to understanding and know that I need to discover my true identity is I was helping everybody else, but my family was falling apart. How many of you guys know that you can go to work and do a good job on your job? You can go out here and you can help other people. And then you come home, you got little faces or family or people that's looking at you like, hey, where's my time? What are you going to do to help me? Now, yes, my children are adults. The youngest is 21, 24, and 27. Yes, they're grown, but there was things as a mom that I missed. I didn't teach them certain things. I didn't show them certain things. And before I can continue to be this person that's in front of the camera, the person that helped change other people's lives, I have to make sure that my family is together. I have to make sure that my kids are whole. I have to make sure that my kids are walking in the path of discovering what their true identity is. Because the reality is, I'm not going to be here forever. And when God called me home, I want to be able to lay in my resting place knowing that I did all that I can do as a mom. I gave all the nuggets and the tools that I could give to my kids so they can live successfully every day without me. I don't want my kids to be bums. I don't want them to be beggars. I don't want them to have a whole bunch of children out of wedlock. I want my kids to be successful in their own right. And how are they going to be successful? Understanding their true identity, walking in their purpose, loving on themselves, doing what it is that makes them happy. So I'm excited to let you guys know, yes, the podcast is on hiatus. You may not see very much of Erica Lynn. However, my team will still post social media posts every couple of days so that you guys know that I'm still here. We're still going to send some motivating messages so that you're still motivated and uplifted. But just know that Erica Lynn is doing the work that she needs to do to keep going, because I was functioning at a high capacity. A high capacity. Nobody knows how high of capacity that I was functioning at. Well, let's say I was barely functioning. I was moving at a high capacity, but I was barely functioning. And so I came on this podcast today to totally be transparent, to let you guys understand and know what I was dealing with. I'm not going to disappear. I'm not going to just walk away and you go, whatever happened to Erica Lynn? Because hopefully my story, someone can resonate with my story. And I hope this bless and touch somebody by me being authentic and sharing my struggles. You know, it's not easy being on here sharing all of these things. Deja, she says she made it. Hi, Deja. Thank you for making it to the podcast. Kim Miss Abel says, watching from my phone, you are amazing and have helped me in so many ways, Erica. You are a friend for life. Thank you. That must be Nick. Kim is able. Hi, Nick. And Deja says she supports me. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support from everyone because it's not easy doing this. Like, people think that pastors get on stage and that they're fine all the time. Listen, their cup is empty sometimes. Their cup needs to be refilled also. So my cup have began to run empty. Um, so the things, let me tell you before I go on to the rest of, and I'm going to start teaching the 5 ways to grow and develop your gifts and talents. So before I go into that, I'm just going to share with you guys that when you understand your true identity, distractions are going to come along the way all the time. It is very imperative for you not to get distracted. Now that's from the words, those are from the words of Clyde Lewis, but those are true words. Those are true words. Don't get distracted. Now, when you understand your true identity and you don't get distracted, it's time for you to walk in alignment. What's an alignment? The things that alignment is, okay, God called you to be a speaker. God called you to help your family. God called you to be whole, to like your gifts and talents. But when you walk in alignment, well, whatever it is that you were called to do, God gonna begin to open doors, right? He's going to open doors. I'm not saying that it's not going to be no struggles, but he's going to open doors and allow you to walk that path that he walked for you. You see, I was walking, but some things was off. So my alignment was kind of crooked, right? I had some financial struggles. I was functioning at a high level, as I said. So the bills for the business were extremely high and I couldn't keep up with them. And so now it's time for me to take a step back. It's time for me to go after sponsors who want to sponsor Erica Lynn Speaks podcast, because y'all know your girl do a good job. Y'all know it's time to step my game up and do it to a different level, okay? And when I'm walking in alignment, God is going to open up those doors, right? And then it's going to be time for me to unleash the power that's inside of me. These are things that I've heard before, but when I heard them over at the conference, it just really resonated in me. And it's just like it just reached down into my soul and just began to twist things and twist stuff inside of me. And I no longer can hold back. I can't hold back what God has created me for. I know I'm here for a purpose. I know that I'm here to change lives, but I have to do it in divine order. So in order to release the full power that God has in me, I got to walk in alignment. I got to take a hiatus, because there's some things and people that it will not be on the camera that you will never see. You will never know that Erica Lynn helped. You will never know that God used me as a vessel to help them. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to move like he asked me to move. I'm here to do what he asked me to do. And when I begin to do all of those things, then and only then will I be walking in my true identity and understanding of what my true purpose is as Erica Lynn Speaks. Now, for those of you all who know me on a personal level, I never really say my government name, but I am Erica Gillis. I am the true, the most high, the wonderful, the powerful Erica Gillis, because without no Erica Gillis, there will not be a Erica Lynn Speaks. So that is my true identity. I am Erica Gillis. And I am here for what God has called me to do. And I'm not going to waver. I'm not going to change. I am going to take this hiatus and what's going to happen on this hiatus. Because I was like, God, what's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? And when Sherelle began to speak about purpose, now y'all know I've done talks about purpose. I've helped people on purpose. But it's amazing when someone else does the talk, because then you can hear God talk to you through other people. And what she said was, because again, remember, I went to the conference saying, I'm quitting the podcast. I'm quitting everything. And when Sherelle began to speak, she says, don't quit. You take a hiatus. It's okay to take a hiatus. Take a hiatus from social media. Take a hiatus from public speaking. Take a hiatus from the camera. Take a hiatus. But what you do when you take that hiatus is most important. Because when you come back, you can't come back the same. You got to come back better and bigger and better than you were when you left. And I sat in that audience and I sat through the conference for the whole 3 days. And it was when she began to speak that I began to hear what it is that I am supposed to do. So no, I can't reveal everything today on this podcast, because what I learned was, and if you all have probably heard your parents say it, when you tell everybody your vision or God's vision for you, when you share with everybody what it is that God has called you to do, then there's going to be some people who try to destroy that vision. They're going to try to stop you. They're going to try to, the naysayers tell you you can't do it when you can. And then all of this negative energy and negative thought is going to get into your mental, and you're going to be like, well, maybe they're right. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And you're going to miss out on the very blessing that God has poured into you. So I'm going on a hiatus and I'll be back. So you guys will be on notice. I'm putting you on notice that when I come back, man, you guys don't want to miss Erica Lynn when she comes back. Y'all don't want to miss the girl, because, oh my God, God is about to move. But I had to be obedient to what he's asking me to do behind the scenes that you guys, unfortunately, are not able to see and be a part of. But you will be a part of when I come back. You'll get to see amazing things. Hey, Nick, he says, we appreciate you letting us know. We will support everything. Thank you so much, Nick. And this is my ride or die right here, Jalen. Hey, Mama, how you doing? I am wonderful, Jalen. Thank you for your support, because last week we had Rodney Barris. Thank you, Rodney, for being the guest host. And I want to thank Tamika Kitchen for allowing Rodney to interview you in my absence. So this was planned like months ago because I knew I had to go to the conference, but I also know that the podcast couldn't lack. So thank you, Rodney Barris, for stepping in, being the host. And Jalen, thank you for engineering the podcast for me because we couldn't do it without you. So when we come back from the hiatus, God gonna have you doing some for real engineering. Hi, Mama Jackson, how are you? I love you. How you feeling? Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. I appreciate your support and I love you and thank you so much. I'm going to get into the 5 ways that you guys can grow and develop your gifts and talents. So if you're ready, we can get started. And I just wanted to share that information with you guys. I wanted to be transparent. I didn't want to disappear. My team will put some posts up so that you guys can know. And I just want to thank my children. I love you guys so much for just being there and supporting me. My family, my mom, my sisters, like everybody, like all of my team. Sonya, you rock. Kim, you the bomb. Nick, he was rocking with me until Q came and stole him. But I'm gonna get you back, Nick. I just want you to know I'm gonna get you back. And I just really do. I really appreciate everybody. So as you look back on your time as a Christian, or what has helped you to grow the most in your ability to do ministry, or whatever it is that God has called you to do, it is important that you become excellent stewards over everything God gives us, whether that be money, time, influence, spiritual gifts, or talents. There are 5 practical ways that you can grow into the gifts and abilities God has given us. He has given us all ways to grow into our abilities. And so today on this podcast, I'm just going to share 5 ways that you can use to grow into your abilities to display your talents into what God has given us. So each person take a moment, and I want you guys to identify some areas in which you want to grow. What areas in your life do you want to grow? This could be spiritual gift. It could be your talent. It could be your ability to speak, or the way you lead others. It could be just your when you talk on the phone to your friends, how come every time you talk on the phone to them, when you get off the phone, they just so uplifted because you are like, you just have that gift to uplift them. Or the fact that when you, like my son, I remember we was going to the gas station to get some gas, and he blessed the young man at the gas station like $5 or $10. And I was like, hey, why did you do that? He said, because I would much rather give my money to someone who has an immediate need, and then instead of give it to the church. Now, that was his own personal preference. And there is a lot of people who make food baskets and things like that and go and give it to the homeless in need. So I want to shout out to my son, Q Nance, for just being the true man that God's called you to be. And I want to say thank you for understanding and knowing that it's time that you walk into your true identity. So thank you for walking into your true identity, to who God has called you to be. So thank you for the support also, Q. Deja says, I'm loving all this love and support for Erica Lynn Speaks. That's right. I love too. I love, y'all. I'm all mushy. I'm a mushy girl. I love. I'm affectionate. I'm emotional. Yes, like all of these things. But that is part of my true identity. And I'm not ashamed to say it, right? First, I used to think I had to be tough and be like everybody else. I had to just like go in the door, kicking down doors and taking names, right? But that's not who God called me to be. And when I began to understand that it's okay to be genuine, it's okay to be loving, it's okay to be soft, and it's okay to not be a fighter, right? Because then God started sending people around me to protect me. Like my best friend Nova, she been protecting me since 6th grade. And I kept saying, why you always so overprotected? But it wasn't until I became an adult and started walking into my purpose and understand that God called her to be one of my generals. So she protect me from other people. She protect me from people taking advantage of me. She even protect me from myself when I'm being crazy and doing crazy things. So shout out to Nova. I love you. Q says, you are welcome. We would miss your show, but it'll be back, Q. The show will be back. He said it was an honor being a part of it. You know what, Q? When the podcast come back, you know, God, you will be able to show everybody your next level too, because you're going to be on a greater level. You know, you don't even know what doors God is about to open for you, and the levels, the different levels that He's about to see, all because you are taking that first step of understanding your true identity and walking in alignment with who God has called you to be. So continue to keep walking in alignment. And you know, shout out to Prophet Clyde Lewis, because he taught this whole talk on alignment, and it just made so much sense. And then just everything just connected. The pieces that I was missing was just they began to connect. So first of all, one of the first steps is exposure, right? Um, be exposed to people who have experiences and abilities in the areas in which you wish to grow. Make sure you can see a living, breathing person who does excellent work in that area as your observance. This person will pick up on traits and principles which make that person good as to what they do or why they do what they do, right? And my son, he'll tell you that when we begin teaching him and stretching him and growing him and showing him that it's time for him to walk into his true identity, it's time for him to become the man that God has called him to be. I gave him the tools. See, I didn't just talk to him and say, you got to do this. You got to be a man. You got to make more money. You got to do this. I didn't do that. I gave him the tools. I walked him, I baby stepped him, and then I said to him, you have to get a mentor. You have to get someone that's doing what you want to do on the level that you want to do it on. Like, you have to get someone that's on a higher capacity, that's been there and done that. Y'all heard that, been there, done that, so they can share their experiences with you. So that's exposure. They've had the exposure. Now you got the exposure because you are connected to them. How many know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense to anybody out there watching this podcast today? In order to get to where you want to go, you got to align yourself with the right people that has already been exposed to what you want, so that they can share their exposure with you. And while they're up here, they're going to bring you with them. You're not going to bring them down there. Then you might as well, if you saying come down here, then you saying, okay, I want you to be where I'm at, which is nowhere, which is not functioning on the level that God asked me to be. But instead, you want somebody that's up here that's going to bring you along with them, and they're going to share their experiences, their mistakes, the things you do, you don't do, so that you don't have to bump your head. You know, y'all mama used to say, go on out there and bump your head, you'll be back. That's because you was hard-headed and you didn't want to listen to your mama when she told you that boy ain't no good for you. When your mama said, that girl fast, you better leave that fast tail girl alone. How many people out here know who got mamas that said, leave that fast tail girl alone, or don't be messing with that boy ain't good for me? Y'all, I know I ain't talking to myself. I know I'm not on this podcast talking to myself. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. So when you're getting the exposure that you need so that you can grow to the level that God has called you to grow to, then there's certain things you got to have a conversation. You got to have a conversation. You got to have a discussion. And that discussion is, my eyes, and that discussion is, who is someone you know who is really great at the things in which you wish to grow? So for me, I know a lot of people at the Be Confident Out Loud. I got a whole lot of new women that I am attached to, that is on levels that I aspire to be on. So who in your life that you know? So for me, I can say Pastor Barbara Bankston. Oh my God, I love her. I love her to death because she doesn't judge me. She just stretches me. She grows me. She pours into me. She translates the Bible to me. I love her. Okay. I mean, I could just name Pam Perry. Like, she's phenomenal. Like, I wish I had the skills that she have on doing this whole social media marketing and advertising. But instead, I gotta hire a staff. I love you, Pam, but I gotta hire staff. You just have to train my staff. But to keep going, to add on that, when you having a discussion, you have to say, how might you be able to shadow them or watch them do what it is that they do? So ask them, can I come to your job? Can I come to your work? Can I sit on your podcast? Can I sit behind the scenes? Can I shadow you to see what you do so that I can develop my own skills, but while learning from you? So ask that person, can you shadow them? And lastly, if appropriate, when will you approach them and ask them for help? So are you going to continue to sit down in the corner and go, well, one day I'll reach out to them. Dang, they living a great life. I want to live that life. Dang, they podcast is bumping. I wish I had enough. I wanted to start my own podcast. Or how many of you going to actually reach out to me and say, Erica Lynn, you actually are doing this podcast? You not shy behind the camera. Can you teach me how to start my own podcast? How many of you are going to come in my DMs and say, Erica Lynn, please be a blessing and teach me and show me how to do what you're doing? Because I'm going to tell you, if everybody remember my first season on the podcast, I stuttered. I kept saying, and you know, and I understand. And I had these filler words. I didn't have great communication. Like I was nervous behind this camera. But my mentor stretched me. I went to Coach Jesse Cole. He stretched me. Pastor Leon McDonald III, he stretched me. In that, I decided to take a leap in faith. And I said, if they believe enough in me to pour out to me, then it's time for me to step. So after that first season of me and Jalen recording the podcast and getting professional editing, Coach Jesse Cole says, I challenge you to go live every day. I said, I'm not going live because you can't edit my mistakes. Well, look at me now. We 5 years later, I'm on this podcast. I don't have a nervous bone in my body. And I'm able to appreciate the place I'm at because I walked in alignment. And it's just time for me to grow more. I gotta grow. I gotta keep growing. Somebody put growth in the comment section. It's time to keep growing. It's time to keep growing. It's time for you to grow. It's time for you to grow. It is time for you to grow. Jalen says, laugh out loud. I bumped my head a few times. Absolutely. That's what I said. I said, Jalen, leave them girls alone. Leave them girls alone. So my kids, they can tell you. I'm not talking about something that I didn't experience personally or my kids didn't experience. Deja, I'm not preaching, baby. I'm just sharing that it's time for everyone to understand their true identity and walking in alignment. That's all. Science says the time for excuses is over. Amen. So no more excuses. It's time to do. Look, I used to quote my friend, but he said he didn't say this, but it's what I say. Don't just talk about it. Be about it. I mean, know what I'm talking about. So after you get the exposure, it is time for you to get the education, right? That's what I was saying. I just didn't tell Q-Lante, we actually taught him or provided him the actual tools that he need. The tools equals education. You know, giving him the mentor or the people that love him enough to pour into him and tell him, if you want to be a millionaire, this is what you got to do. Putting him in alignment with other millionaires that can pour into him, putting him in alignment with other people that's in the field that he's in and that's functioning on a high capacity, putting him in alignment. My father, God rest his soul, has had the best gift of ever. He could talk. Oh, he could talk. He could sell you anything. He could sell you a pencil. You'd be like, Mr. Gillis, I need 10 pencils, 20,000 pencils. Now it's time for my son to get some of those same gifts that was there available to him. We just had to teach him. You got to get out there and go get that education. See, education is where you intentionally take time to learn a certain topic. You might sit down and listen to how someone does something. You may also want to read a book on the subject or take a class. Whatever the topic is, be sure to be active, an active learner, right? So I could cook. Okay, not really, but I could cook, right? I could cook healthy foods. I can, because y'all know I'm dieting and losing weight. I can't make macaroni and cheese that good. Peach cobbler, no. And dressing, that's not me, right? Why? Because my mama spoiled me. Mama, you shouldn't have spoiled me. You should have just made me get in the kitchen and learn. But now, at 46 years old, I can't blame my mama. What do I got to do? I got to get the education. I got to get out there. Let me tell y'all, I've been on YouTube and I've been searching the recipes, right? But I find the most Southern woman, the woman with a little limp in the leg, the old school mama who gonna teach you right. And I've been learning from that. And so when I began to take my classes or actually take the steps to actually preparing the stuff, then I learned the Southern recipes. Then I am reaching out to people other than people on YouTube to actually walk me through it. So I'm getting that education. So I'm asking you, on the level that you want to function on, what education are you getting? Are you going to school? Are you reading books? Are you watching YouTube channels? Are you talking to somebody who do what you want to do? Where are you getting your education from? Are there books, articles, or videos by those who are nationally or internationally recognized experts in your area? Is there a class, a seminar, a lesson, or training you can take on the subject? Is it? Did anybody sign up for a conference, a seminar, some training? Did you say, hey, can you teach me? Erica, I want to do the podcast. Can you teach me how to do the podcast? I've had people reach out to me say, I want to be a motivational speaker. Erica, can you help me, teach me how to be a motivational speaker? These are people that want to learn. They're hungry for what they want. They're hungry for their purpose. They're hungry to walk in alignment. So I got to ask you, how hungry are you? How hungry are you? Can you put that, Sonya? Can you put that down in the comment section? How hungry are you? Next is the environment. You need a place where you can grow into your gifts and ask many questions without being made to feel stupid. How many people feel like you ask the question and somebody make you feel so dumb? Or would you like to be in an environment where you can ask, what did the teacher say? There's no such thing as a dumb question. You can ask as many questions as you want, right? And somebody has the patience, the know-how, the will to teach you, and also the understanding that where you at now, they used to be there. If somebody else didn't have the patience and the time to teach them when they was where you at, then they wouldn't be who they are now. They wouldn't be where they are. So ask questions and don't feel stupid about it. See, you need an environment where you can learn without fear of failure, right? Because what does they say? You fail your way to success. If you make enough mistakes, eventually you're going to say, I'm tired of bumping my heads. I learned if I go down that way, then that's what's the result is going to happen. If I do that, that's the result. So after you make enough mistakes, you're bound to be successful. So yes, you can fail your way to success. A good environment can also be a place where people involved in your area of interest or work hang out. You can do an internship. It can be great ways to be in the right environment. How many people want to work for me for free? And I'm offering internships because this is the truth, though. And my whole team can attest to this. In my business, everybody that has worked for me, my children included, everything that I have taught them, from social media to how to work an online studio to how to start a business, from how to work all the systems and software that's in place and all the things that I do, they can take all of this information, not only put it on a resume, heck, they can take it and duplicate it and start their own business, do their own podcast, because I want you to grow. I want to teach you so you can grow. You don't always have to work for me forever. I want you to grow. Sonya, she doing her thing. I seen her live today, and we talking about Sonya. She didn't want to do this. She was going through the things that she was going through. So Sonya, I'm so proud of you, girl. God bless you for taking the things that you learned while working for me and growing your own purpose, walking into your own purpose and what God has called you to do. I'm excited about that. Hey, Alicia, how you doing? How are you doing? Thank you for joining the podcast today. Alicia said, me, something that I said resonated with you, Alicia. It's time for you to grow. It's time for you to get into a different environment. Now, when you understand that you have to be in a different environment, you can ask yourself two questions. One is, what sort of environment will help you grow in this area the most? So you can write that down. You like, because you're trying to figure out what environment that I need to be in. And so ask yourself, what sort of environment would help you grow in this area the most? The second question would be, where do people who are good in your area of interest hang out or work? So If you're saying that, I want to be a motivational speaker. Where do all motivational speakers hang out? You can find them in online programs. You can find them, well, because we went through the pandemic, there used to be, like, look, I can't even remember the man's name right now. But Les Brown has a program. John Maxwell, that's what I want to say. John Maxwell has a program. Or you can reach out to other speakers, get in the Facebook groups of other motivational speakers or speakers. Join like the speakers clubhouse. There's many of places that you can go to find other speakers. So I'm saying that to say that the field that you want to be in, whether it's a nurse, a doctor, an insurance salesman, a music artist, a consultant, Alicia, whatever what it is, what do you do? Whatever it is, you have to say to yourself, where are these people? Where do I go? What area are they in? Where do they hang out so that I can meet these people, so that I can attach to one, so that I can learn from someone who's already been through it and they can take me to another level. Now, so you've got the environment, right? So we went through your exposure. We went through education, the environment. Now let's talk about your experience. Nothing beats experience and good old trial and error. Church, I'm stuttering. Nothing beats experience but good old trial and error, right? So when you try something, if you fail at it, okay, that's how you learn, right? That's how you learn. Like when you tell your kids, you remember the baby, when your kids are small and they touching the stove and you say, that's hot, don't touch that, that's hot. And you keep running to the stove trying to tell them stay away from the stove. But the one good time that baby touched the stove and started crying, I promise you that baby will never touch the stove again, right? Because it had trial and error. And so after being exposed to something, you should try it yourself. You probably won't be great at it right away, but you will never get better if you don't try and gain experience. So you need plenty of opportunities to try, to fail, to learn from your mistakes, and to grow, right? How many got that? You need plenty of opportunities to try, to fail, to learn from your mistakes, and to grow, because you can't grow if you don't know what you're growing to, you don't know what you're growing from. So it's okay to fail your way and to make errors, to try. You're not wrong. Like nobody's going to whoop you. You just try it and you go, oh, that works, or oh, that doesn't work. And then you try something else, but don't beat yourself up about it, right? Because how many people try something that don't work and you beat yourself up about it, like, oh my God, this is not working. And I try so hard and I just can't get it. And you just punish yourself more than life will punish you. I used to be that person. I had to learn from my mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but I understand that it is okay to make mistakes. So I'm not telling you something that I haven't experienced myself. So you're going to ask yourself 3 questions when you're trying to figure out about experiences for you. The first would be, what are some simple ways to practice your gifts or talent? How many can Sonya tell me what are some simple ways you can do to practice your gifts or talent? Alicia, tell me what are some simple ways you can do to practice your talents? And anybody in the comment section, write down what are some simple ways that you can do to practice your gifts or talents. I'm just trying to stretch you. Y'all here. We got another 15 minutes. You might as well get stretched while you're here. The second question you can ask yourself is there a job, an internship, or a volunteer position where you can use your gifts or talents? See, you stretching yourself, you putting yourself out there. And last question was, how can you use your gifts or talents more often, even on a daily basis? Deja says, study more, watch more videos on it. Yes, Deja, you can study more, and you can, because let me tell you, YouTube teach you a whole lot. I didn't realize how much YouTube teaches. YouTube can teach me how to make peach cobbler. I haven't found a good macaroni and cheese recipe, but it teach you math, it teach you English. Listen, I've been taking etiquette lessons because okay, I got a big derriere, right? And so I would always bend over to tie my shoe with my butt up in the air. But then I got old and my back started hurting, and the physical therapist and the personal trainer say you're not supposed to bend over like that. And then my male friend said, eh, every time I would bend over wrong, he would slap me in my behind to remind me that I'm not supposed to bend over like that. I said, well, God dog it, stop hitting me in my behind. So then I actually YouTube etiquette lessons. I YouTube proper ways to sit and proper, because sometimes when you be set in your ways, you just be set there and don't know how wrong you are until it takes somebody else to love you enough to tell you that's wrong. You got to get it right. And that's what I had to do. So I ain't too old to tell you that I'm still figuring things out, trying to get it better. Now, science says, what are some simple ways I can practice my gifts and talents? I didn't say write the question, Sonia. I wanted to know personally, what are some ways that you, Sonia Williams, practice your gifts and talents? I love my people. I love my people. So lastly is evaluation. I'm going to go on to evaluation while Sonia stretch herself a little bit. Evaluation. If you are really going to grow in a particular area, you must receive evaluation. You need to receive helpful, honest feedback from someone you trust and respect. Hopefully, this will be done in a kind and encouraging manner. Without evaluation, you will miss out on opportunities to grow. Let me tell y'all, I've had so much evaluation in the last 5 years. At first, I would get sad and depressed. Like, listen, when I first started speaking, y'all remember I was like, hi, I'm Erica Gillis, and welcome to Erica Lynn Podcast. And I just be like, huh. And my friends say, stop hollering. I said, girl, I'm not hollering. I'm just excited. And I was like, why she hating on me? I ain't hollering. She's supposed to be happy about my success, right? But that was so wrong. I was so wrong for that, because when I actually sat down and started listening, because everybody would tell you when you record yourself and you're on TV, nobody likes to watch themselves. We don't want to see the good nor the bad. So it took me a long time before I can watch myself. And when I began to sit down and watch my own podcast is when I understand, like, dang, this girl was right. I was hollering. And then my team say, you loud. And he said, turn your gains down. And you know what I mean? So it took my team, it took the people that was surrounding me to start critiquing me and evaluating me and telling me what was wrong that I need to get right. And so get yourself a good team, get yourself a good support system, people that you respect, right? Because you might be wondering, how you gonna tell me something when you don't know yourself? How you gonna tell me something when you ain't experienced yourself? You can't be like that, because sometimes a person is there to share with you, to help you get better. They just help you. They just there to help you grow. But you do got to ask yourself 2 questions. Who do you know that can give you helpful feedback when you're trying to figure out who's going to evaluate you? Who do you know that can give you helpful feedback? And the second question you want to know is, which of your friends can you ask to give you honest evaluation? Listen, all my friends gonna tell me the truth. Even if you ain't my friend, they gonna tell me the truth. If I suck, they gonna tell me I suck. If my voice sound good, they gonna tell me I sound good. If they say the podcast was great, they gonna tell me. If they say, no, you was dead on that podcast, you had no energy, I'm gonna be like, dang, why are they saying that? But then when I go back and watch the podcast, I'll be like, okay, my lighting was off, my energy was bad. Then that just made me come back on the podcast even better that next time. And so get you a good group of people around you who gonna evaluate you, and they ain't gonna lie to you. You don't want nobody lying to you. Because when they lying to you, how you gonna know if you're getting better? How you gonna know if you suck so that you can get better? So get you a good team around you so they can evaluate you. I'm telling you, man, my team is hard, but I know it's all coming out of love, right? It's all coming from love. And I remember Kim, he's not on the podcast, but Kim was my social media manager. And when I was deciding to make this decision on if I was going to quit the podcast or not, he said, don't stop doing what you do, Erica. You make a difference in everybody's life. He said, you made a difference in my life. You picked me up when I was down. Like, because he was my social media manager, he had to go back and listen to all my podcasts. And he would be so excited by the message and the words that were in the podcast. And that just really troubled my spirit when I said, I'm going to quit this podcast, because I kept thinking about Kim, like, dang, how can I let Kim down? How can I let all the Kims down in the world that actually stumble across this podcast, and it makes a difference? The sound of my voice and the message makes a difference. And so get you a good team around you that's going to evaluate you. So I'm just going to hit you with some points, and then we're going to get out of here. So when you brainstorm, you have to brainstorm and ask yourself some questions. And so you guys can go back and watch this podcast so you can write these questions down. Knowing that most people won't give you unsolicited feedback unless asked to do so. You got to brainstorm together so you and that other person can work together, or you and other people can work together. A few good ways to ask for feedback, characterized by grace and truth, right? So you can ask yourself, which of the 5 E's will be the easiest for you to do? Ask yourself. Explain, evaluate the 5 E's. Evaluate. Look at me. Have experience. Look, I don't have them all up in front of me. That's me being authentic, because I ain't human. The second, because I am human. Look, that made me an animal. I am I am human. Next, which of the 5 E's will be the most difficult for you to do? Which of the 5 E's do you think will help you the most? And how can we encourage each other to take the steps needed to grow in our gifts and talents? So the 5 E's again were exposure, education, environment, experience, and evaluation. So I say that again so you guys can write them down. Exposure, which means that how can you get exposed to the things that you want to do, or the level that you want to be on? Education, how can you get the education that's going to help you get there? Environment, where is these place that these people hang out, so I can go and be around the IBM leaders, so I can go and be around the Apple people, so I can go and be around the successful singers or book writers or publishers or teachers, or where do they hang out? I want to get to where they at. Where do they hang out so I can learn? Experience, how can I get the experience that I need to get me where I'm trying to go? And lastly, evaluation. Who gonna tell me I'm wrong? There's 2 left shoes when I know I ain't doing right. Who gonna tell me that I need to get better? Who is going to love me enough and care about me enough to stretch me so that I can get to that level that I'm trying to go to? See, remember in the beginning, I talked about understanding your identity and walking in alignment. So those things at the conference, they stretch me. It said, I got to get better. It's some things that I got to do. And when y'all see Erica Lynn come back, baby, it's going to be a beautiful thing, because I'm asking God to do miracles, signs, and wonders. But guess what? God asking me to do the work, because with that scripture go, faith without works is dead. So it's a lot of work that Erica Lynn got to do in order to get to where I'm trying to go. So I love you guys. Thank you for joining Erica Lynn's podcast. So y'all got some questions? We got a couple of minutes. You could drop them in the comments section. You got some questions? Y'all want to tell me you're going to miss me, because I'm going to miss y'all. But I'll be back, right? I want to shout out to my team, Sonia Williams, Kim, Deja, Nick, Q, my son. Shout out my mom. Shout out to my big sister, Darlene. I can't even make her own announcement. She said we got to wait, but I just want to say I love you, girl. I'm coming for you because we're going to celebrate. Ooh, ooh. I want to shout out to my nephew, Donovan. He lost his father, which is my brother, Bo. last year. And so I'm stretching myself, you guys. It's time for me to make time for my family and help them come up to where God wants them to be. So sometimes I have to put things on hold so I can go back and help those who are most important to me so that I can get them where God needs them to be. And then once I get them where God needs them to be, or at least get them in a direction of moving close to where God wants them to be, then God will say, okay, daughter, you did what I asked you to do. Now it's time for you to go continue to walk into your purpose, which that is part of my divine purpose. So I'm going to continue to keep moving. So if you missed this episode, make sure you go to ericalynnspeaks.com on the website. The podcast will be available on podcasting sites. Of course, you guys know that it's on YouTube and 2 Facebook channels. When you go to the website and you listen to the podcast, please do me a favor. Give me 5 stars. Give me 10 stars. Well, don't let you give me 5 stars, but give me 5 stars. You know, a girl needs your support and your love. So I appreciate that. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. You can follow me on Erica Lynn Speaks on Facebook. And make sure whenever you share my post, put hashtag Erica Lynn Fam. My team will go and grab those posts, and we're going to do some great things with that. But I love you guys. So if you guys don't have any questions, Deja say she loved me too. I love you, Deja. That's my ride or die right there, my mini me. But if you guys don't have any questions, if this information blessed you with the 5 E's, if you learned something about the 5 E's, or if you learned the fact that it's time for you to discover your true identity so that you can walk into your purpose and be who it is that God called you to be. And when I mean your true identity, not your fake identity, because there's a lot of false identities out here. I'm talking about your true identity. If that means that you perfect for you, and other people don't think you perfect, then that's your true identity. So that means if you burp and you're like, oh, I'm burping all the time. Well, that's me. I want to burp all the time. If you pass gas and you say that's me, they're like, oh, Erica passes gas all the time. Well, then that's my true identity. Whatever it is, I got to give gross examples so you guys can understand. Whatever your true identity is, discover it. Be your authentic self. Walk into who it is that God called you to be. Live out your purpose, because I'm here. So make sure y'all message me so I can support the things that you guys are doing while I'm on my hiatus. I'll come to your conferences. I'll come and visit. Whatever your virtual conference, just let me know. I'm here to support you while I have the time, because when God opened me back up, my time may be limited. So I love you guys. This is your girl, Erica Lynn. You guys were on Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. I love you all. I will see you guys when my hiatus is over. So we'll make sure that we put some posts on social media. So if you forget, we'll be back. Ain't that right, Sonya? I love you all. And guess what? Always remember to take one step beyond you. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next season. This podcast was brought to you by ericalynnspeaks.com. Sign up for your free consultation today at ericalynnspeaks.com/work with me. And just remember, it only takes just one step beyond you.
Beyond you. I say Erica Lynn Speaks.